Welcome to the Teach Better Talk podcast, your official podcast for the Teach Better Podcast Network, the hub for all things education, brought to you by teachbetter.com. The Teach Better Talk podcast is committed to answering your burning questions through a variety of lenses and bringing new offers to you and your colleagues to help you thrive throughout the school year. My name is Ray Hewart, and we love your questions here on the pod. If you have any questions that you'd love us to consider as topics for future episodes, please share them with us by emailing info@teachbetter.com. What key systems can I put in place to make my strategies work for me and not against me? This is the question that we are diving into in today's episode. But before we get too far in, I want to give a quick shout out to Andrea. Andrea is an amazing team member who co-founded the Ambassador Program in our Teach Better Academy, or in our Teach Better family, and also somebody who continues to maintain that incredible relationship community that is existing in this Teach Better clan. I love Andrea for the work she does, and I also love her two cutie patootie kids that we always get to see pop in online. She just went live with her daughter, and I love seeing when she does little stuff like that. So thanks, Andrea, for all that you do and always putting a smile on our face when your kids get to make an appearance on social media on a awesome Monday or Tuesday morning. We have Jeff Gargas here with us, also a team member who we've given shout out to, and now a guest on the pod. Jeff Gargas, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, especially about a shout out to Andrea. That's
absolutely
well earned. Well worth it, well earned. Yes,
well,
love Andrea. So second shout out, how's that?
Is it weird that you are on the pod as a guest, but the reality is you started this podcast? Not really a guest.
It was weird when we were preparing for it because you went through, you do a nice job setting your guest up to have a good episode. And it was weird because normally, when we first started this thing, which is 6 years ago now, you and I did that for the first, I don't know how many episodes we had. Well, we had guests, and it's went through so many iterations that I think I've been on enough. It's not weird for me to be in this role on a live stream. So it's sort of similar to recording video. So I can I'm okay. I'm all right, Ray. I think so. We'll see.
Friends, Jeff Gargas is no stranger to the Teach Better Talk pod, but for this season, he hasn't been on yet. So this is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Jeff, we waited the way to September to get you on the podcast. Why have you avoided us? Why did it take a month to get you on the pod?
I think the better question is, how did I not continue to avoid it? And where did I go wrong? Because it should be March or something if I was actually good at what I was doing. But, whatever. We can let the listeners decide whether it was a good thing or a bad idea or somewhere in between. But
fair enough.
We're here.
For our new listeners who may not be connected to Jeff, welcome to the first and maybe the last introduction to Mr. Jeff Gargas, co-founder, COO. Jeff Gargas, do you mind doing a little update on who you are, what you do, all that jazz?
Sure. So you kind of already said it, but my name is Jeff Gargas. I'm the COO, which is just a fancy word for I do operational type stuff for the team. I was co-founded a company with Chad, own the company currently with Chad and Ray. And like everyone on our team, wear a lot of different hats and do a lot of different things, but have been fortunate enough to be doing the work that we do for, 9 years or somewhere around there now, which is awesome. As you kind of mentioned, did co-found. I mean, obviously it was a company that co-founded the podcast, but it was you and I saying, look, we're going to do this. No one else has to worry about anything. We got this. And off we went. And that was 6 years ago. It was just last week that we talked about being at the 6-year anniversary of the podcast. So that's what I am. I'm, a lot of times if you have issues with your academy access or the website, that's going to be me that you yell at. But I'm excited. I love getting to be involved in things like our administrator mastermind or Edu Club community. And as much as we joke, I do love coming on the podcast, the live streams and stuff like that as well. So just it's always awesome to work with educators in any capacity. And I especially really love the start of the year because despite the craziness, the known headaches that are about to come and the stress and everything like that, teachers are excited, even if they don't tell you. They're excited to get back in the classroom. They're excited to try new things. They're excited to meet new kids and inspire new minds. And that to me is just really, really powerful and inspiring. So excited to be here.
So good. Jeff, you do a lot of work behind the scenes that you don't get credit for. And so, as much as I like to give you a hard time, most of the things, friends, that you see coming from the Teach Better team, Jeff has some touch on that project. And to be honest, Jeff, a big shout out for the work that you do. I would say more than anything, most of our principals, most of the schools that we work with engage with you a lot in finalizing details of trainers being sent all across the US and Canada to go to schools. You're making sure that everybody gets where they need to go and has the information. I feel like I'm constantly texting you being like, what state am I supposed to go to? What am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to be calling? What flight?
I think I'm at the wrong airport.
Yeah.
You've never done that.
I have not. I have never
Chad has done that.
I have never shown up at the wrong airport. Chad has.
Technically he didn't get there, but he was on his way there to Midway.
Yeah.
When we realized he was supposed to be going to O'Hare. So luckily it wasn't crazy and he had time. That was years ago. I don't know if we can keep holding that, but he's the one who's ever actually done that, I think. It's amazing that it hasn't happened more often, honestly.
Yeah, and I feel like we've all now traveled enough that we go out of similar airports.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas early on, we would go out of any airport if we could save like $1.50. So that's
it would be weird for you to go out of anywhere other than O'Hare. Now with Chad though, it still isn't because he's right next to Canton Akron, but that's a smaller airport, so it doesn't always have the option. So sometimes you got to go to Cleveland. So I think he's the one who has the best opportunity to potentially like drive an hour that he doesn't need to drive to Cleveland or leave later because he thinks he's only got to go 10 minutes to Akron Canton. But knock on wood, fingers crossed, whatever you do, let's hopefully it keeps going that way.
Chad, we believe in you. Don't mess it up, buddy. You got it. Friends, if you have ever gone to the wrong airport or made like a funny travel mistake, we would love to hear from you. Screenshot this podcast recording, post on social media, tag Jeff and I, tag the Teach Better pod, Teach Better Talk, hashtag Teach Better something. We'd love to hear those funny travel stories. I think the biggest stressor for me is the people that show up to the airport that are going internationally and forget their passport or so. Those are the ones that get me, I think.
That's
that's
that would be. I hope that would never happen. I take my passport all the time anyway, just as a backup piece. So just in case I decide once I get to the airport that I don't want to go to Chicago, instead I'd like to go to Paris, I'm ready. I've got it, so.
I do too. So I guess I'm always ready too. If you and I ever showed up to O'Hare and we were like, we're going to Italy, we'd be prepared.
There's a flight. It's not, So if you are in Italy and you ever just randomly see Ray and I, that might be what happened. We are maybe supposed to be at a school in California or New York or something like that, but we decided, wine.
Yeah, why not? So today we're talking about, we're kind of wrapping up this week of our physical selves, how we are preparing our bodies to stay healthy and happy as we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off as educators throughout the day. Megan Polke was on earlier this week, kind of talking about her really crazy schedule as a co-teacher. She's never in the same spot throughout the day. She's constantly running around, supporting different students and kind of walking into different classrooms, including her own classroom and yada, yada, yada. So she gave a lot of strategies for how she really sticks with the high energy throughout the day. And then Nick Mann and his colleague was on yesterday talking about different stretches. That was a really fun episode. He went through a number of different things that we could do. And yes, we did perform a lot of those stretches on camera. So if you didn't watch over on YouTube, make sure you go do that. Jeff, the one thing that I really appreciate you coming on for with this episode is talking about the things that we can put in place to really sustain our energy and our physical well-being. You have worked in many different environments, and the one thing that you do that I always think about related to this is you are constantly deciding to sit and stand throughout the day. So if it's okay with you, I'd love to get into this episode so you can tell us about your standing desk.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm good with that.
All right, we'll be right back, friends.
Quick pause to talk about social media. Are you on social media and following the Teach Better team? Head over to your favorite platform, whether it be YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or anything in between, and make sure you're following at Teach Better Team. You'll be getting full updates on all exciting news, including deals of the week, fun blogs, new podcast episodes, and easy, quick downloads that are awesome to send to your teachers at the start to every new week.
How can we keep these different strategies going to help make us better and have them not work against us? We are here with Jeff Gargas. He just changed his and now he's standing. Friends, if you're over on YouTube, this was the week to watch. Jeff, you have the standing desk. You're constantly sitting and standing and sitting and standing. Tell me, how do you decide what you're going to do throughout the day?
It's kind of just kind of how I'm feeling, right? So like, and sometimes it's literally this, right? Someone makes a comment, I'm like, oh, I'll stand up now. It's very common for me to be like in a meeting or a mastermind or something like that and just do it midway through. If it's an hour long, I might be sitting when I start and be like, you know what, I want to stand up. Or I might be like, oh, I'm going to sit down. Sometimes it depends on what I'm doing. So there's certain things where I'm like, I want to sit down. Like if I'm going to be, I don't know why. I don't know, it could be if my legs feel tired, I might not want to, stand, and I might want to sit for the start and then change it up. So I think that plays into it. I've had this desk now for, gosh, I don't know how many years, but I've had it for a while. I love it because it's an Uplift desk is the brand, which is higher end. And there's a lot of nice ones out now that aren't nearly as bad, but it's really big too. And like everything's attached. So my extra monitor is attached, my lights attached, everything's all in here. It's actually got power built into it, which is really nice. But yeah, and it goes, and I have settings. You can have up to 4. I use just 2, which is my up or my down. And then you can also just manually do it. So I think deciding, it's just kind of feeling. That's actually, I was kind of thinking like how do we have these strategies help us and not potentially hurt us? And I think one of the things is you got to understand how you operate within systems and whether your systems and your boundaries, whatever you set up, need to be flexible or simplified, or if they need to be very, very, very strict. And I think mine, when it comes to this specific thing, which is a health thing, is very, very flexible, for very relaxed. Like I don't have like, oh, I have to do this much, that much, whatever. It's just, it's an option so that and then I do it. So.
Well, and what I like about that is there can be ways to use it that are positive and ways to do it that are addressing a negative. And so one is, oh, I just feel like standing up, so I'm going to stand up because it feels good. And the other is I'm actually feeling energy draining. I'm going to choose to stand up because that will boost my energy. So those two different choices give you a positive result. Oh, he held.
That's a great one because I actually have this.
Oh, okay. Wait,
it's a bamboo board. It's just got a little ball on the bottom, so it's just a little. You're not going to fall off it, but it is a little bit. And if I'm feeling like I'm down on energy, I've got to at least move a little bit. Now I'll do this also if I'm feeling like almost like anxious or like
antsy
twitchy in a sense, because it allows me to do stuff with my feet, which I tap or whatever. But yeah, I use that as well. I was actually surprised it's there because my daughter steals it all the time. But so I will use that as well.
For those of you who are listening on the podcast, he brought out essentially what looked like a board with a half ball underneath it. So
it's like the size of like a skateboard. It's a little bit thicker width-wise than a skateboard, but about, a smaller skateboard, and like it's got
wobbles
on the bottom, so it wobbles a little bit. Like not enough where like if it goes one side or the other, you're necessarily going to fall off, but like it does require a little bit. And if I do that for a decent period of time, like you feel a little bit in the calves, which is nice. But if I was tired, like that would be the way to go, of like making sure, I was moving a little bit more. So, yes, that's another option.
It's fun. When I was teaching in Bloomington, I actually just went on Amazon and bought folding tables and bed risers that you would get like for college kids. So it was like the folding tables. It's what you would, when you get a house and you decide that you're going to host Thanksgiving, but you don't have enough table space. So you get those like $30 folding tables that are like,
they pop out. Yeah. They fold in half. Right. And then,
so I got a few of those, and then I got bed risers, which you would get for like college to like store stuff under your dorm bed. And what I did is when I bought those, you could allow the white folding table to then be a standing table. because it made it higher. So that way it didn't have to buy a standing table, but when you put the bed risers on, it was higher. And when you took the bed risers off, it was like a cheap way to do it. I mean, but it really worked. And I had middle schoolers and, it's like after 5 seconds, they understand how it works. And that was a really easy thing to write a grant for. That wobble thing would be a really easy thing to write a grant for, because that is going to be something that if you got like, I'm thinking 5 or 6 in a classroom, assuming you have somewhere between 20 to 30 kids, I feel like 6 would be a really solid number. And you keep it in the corner. You you teach students how to grab it, use it, put it back. Maybe you have a timing system, whatever you use. And you kind of teach students how to like manage their physical well-being, just like you teach yourself how to manage. I don't know. It could be a really interesting way to work in some flexible seating into what you need and what your students need.
Yeah, and that could be if they're going to stand, if they're doing something like you're talking about, even at their desk just for their feet. If you have students that have that energy that they need to get out, it gives them a little bit something more, maybe instead of tapping or kicking, maybe they just have a little bit of, because you can just kind of move your feet a little bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and have you seen a lot of schools now buy those big rubber bands? They're like the bands that you would get at like a physical therapist.
Oh yeah.
You put them on the front legs of a chair, and then the students can
bounce on that. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Which isn't going to clang and clang like if you had a bar on a desk or something. Yes. Yeah.
I do feel like teachers, though. I know that we were supposed to be talking about the teachers, and then we're talking about the kids right now, but these are things that we provide our students that we don't provide the teachers. And I feel like this is maybe a push to be like, friends, like use the stuff that we give our students because it's good for us too. Like,
yeah. Sell some flexible seating.
I love flexible seating. Sure. I want to sit on a couch.
You can do the there's a lot of varieties of the standing desk stuff, because like I started with one that was manual, but it was like a 3 thing. It was a pain. And then I've seen others that have them that are like easier movements. I went from like a tray type thing that you had like 3 latches you had to set and get it right, to one that was bigger that had like just handles that I pulled and like triggered up. And I was using it enough to where I'm like, okay, I'm going to invest in this now.
Yeah.
And it just made it just my entire desk. So you can kind of work your way up. The trays you can get for like $20 on Amazon, and
that's
stuff.
That's another thing that you can write grants for too, though.
Absolutely.
So educators, as you're thinking through what you could provide students, these are also things that you could utilize in your classroom for you that you can still get money funding for. So that could be a cool thing to look at for sure. Yeah. So there's so many things to look at here, friends. We hope that you were able to kind of dive into how you can physically keep yourself happy, healthy, what strategies can work for you rather than against you. Jeff, we're going to get into a major takeaway, so we'll be right back.
Okay.
As we wrap up our conversation around strategies that work for you rather than against you, we're going to ask Jeff Gargas here a major takeaway and then share some contact information so you can stay connected to our wonderful COO, Jeff Gargas. Jeff, what is one major takeaway you hope our listeners are able to walk away with after listening to the show?
I feel like I'm going to do 2. I apologize. But like, I think one is, I said it at the beginning, but like, I think the key to like any kind of strategy, really in general, but really specific when it comes to health and fitness and just your well-being and stuff is personalizing it to you and the way you operate and the way you work within boundaries and structures, and so that it doesn't become a hindrance to you, right? Like some people want a very structured system where they're checking things off and they're, maybe they have accountability partners or whatever, that type of stuff. And for someone else, that feels overwhelming. It feels like a burden versus just having a flexible, relaxed situation that gives you the opportunity to do things that can help you with your health and stuff. I think that's a key takeaway. And then I'm going to pull someone, I apologize, right? Because you said it right before we ended that segment, is like, think about the things that we do for our kids, our students, that we try to help them to foster better well-being for them, health, mental, everything, and create your version of that for yourself and or your colleagues or those you serve. So sorry, I cheated. I did too.
So many, but so good. Jeff, how can our community stay connected to you?
Easiest way, everything's, we're all over at teachbetter.com. You can always email me, Jeff at teachbetter.com. On most social media, I'm at Jeff Gargas, Gargas, except for on Instagram, I'm _ Jeff Gargas. But yeah.
So fun. As for everybody that is on the show, but especially Jeff, if you have any issues connecting with somebody that you've heard on the pod, feel free to reach out to me or anyone else on the team, and we'll make sure to get you connected. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on Teach Better Talk.
Thanks for having me on. I look forward to you maybe being allowed to come back. I guess we'll see.
We'd love to have you back anytime, buddy.